There are many teens who are sexually active. More teens are sexually active than the teens that are not sexually active. When teens decide to become sexually active, they face many consequences. They face pregnancy, STIs, sexually transmitted illnesses, depression, and even suicide. I think most of them face a lot of these consequences because they don't think about the consequences. They don't consider these consequences before they decide to become sexually active. They don't think about the fact that they can procreate. They don't think about the diseases that they can get. They don't think about, most of all, is that it can actually make them depressed. There is a terrifying number of teenagers who are actually sexually active. Chad Hill, the author of Teen Sexual Behavior Quick Facts, says that there are less teenage girls sexually active than teenage boys. I think this is probably because there's a lot more consequences a girl has to face, but probably because girls hear that it will hurt whenever they become sexually active, so they decide not to do it because they're scared of getting it hurting. But with the pregnancy, a girl actually gets pregnant. The boy don't have to stay for the pregnancy. He can leave and not have anything to do with the kid. He don't have to face the decision of keeping the baby, giving it up for adoption, or even some consider abortion. Chad Hill, also the author of Teen Sexual Behavior Quick Facts, also has the statistics that 49% of boys are sexually active and 46% of girls are sexually active. So it just shows there ain't very big of a difference in the percentage of which ones are sexually active, but it shows that boys are more sexually active. Whenever it comes to depression, teens do face it. This shows the percentage in depression for teens that are sexually active. This side is girls, and girls that are sexually active are 25.3% are sexually active. On the not sexually active are 7.7% that are depressed. So it shows the difference in the depression in girls. And this side is boys, and 8.3% of boys who are sexually active are depressed, and only 3.4% of boys that are not sexually active are depressed. So it shows that the difference between the boys and girls that are sexually active. I think that the teens are mostly depressed because they face more bullying, because once the kids at school find out that you have become sexually active, they'll start making fun of you and calling you names and just stuff like that. And then also, once you decide to start going into a new relationship, like dating somebody, and they bring up doing sexual activity, it's harder for you to say no because they already know that you have been sexually active before, so they'll use that against you. When it comes to getting depressed, a lot of teens face suicide. They contemplate whether to commit suicide or not. This is the percent who attempt suicide in girls and boys. 14.3 of teen girls that are sexually active try to commit suicide, and only 5.1% of teens who are not sexually active try to commit suicide for girls. And for boys, 6% try to commit suicide that are sexually active, and only 0.7% of boys who are not sexually active try to commit suicide. So it shows the difference in the boys and girls and not sexually active and sexually active. This just proves that it is hard emotionally on teens to become sexually active. It's because they don't consider the consequences of becoming. They don't think about the fact that kids will start bullying them. They don't think about pregnancy. They just don't think about a lot of things that come with being sexually active. When it comes to STDs, the article 11 Facts About Teens and STDs states that 50% of STDs are found in ages 15 to 25. So it just shows how young kids really are whenever they start having sex. It can be at age 15, sometimes even younger, and then they come into contact with STDs. It also stated that 1 in 4 teens will get an STD. So that's very big chance of getting an STD. When it comes to pregnancy, they always have to face either whether they decide to keep the baby, if they decide to give it up for adoption, or if they decide to get an abortion. Either way, when it comes to teen pregnancy, the article Teen Sex, Truth and Consequences states that 1 million pregnancies will come from teens being sexually active, with 406,000 abortions, 143,000 miscarriages, 49,000 live births. This is because kids they don't think about using protection, like condoms and birth control. This can be for many reasons, but a couple examples are they think that they're immune to the consequences. You know, they always hear about the consequences in your sex ed class, but they don't think about those consequences actually affecting them. They also don't want to tell their parents that they're sexually active because they're too scared to, so they just won't get birth control or condoms. But using protection always isn't 100% either. You can still come into contact with STDs or pregnancy, and that don't keep you from being depressed. So protection is not 100%, only abstinences.